Have you ever watched your cat, your little domestic fluff ball, stalking a toy mouse, maybe even a real one if you're unlucky, or lucky, depending on your view, and wondered, is this all instinct? Are they just born predators, or did they pick this up from mom, or maybe like cat videos on the internet?
Oh, absolutely. It's a great question. It gets right to that nature versus nurture thing, but, with cats, and honestly, what really sparks those predatory behaviors, it's been a bit of a mystery.
Right. And that's exactly what we're getting into today. This deep dive is all about trying to uncover the secrets behind how our domestic cats develop their predatory aggression and also their defensive sides. Our mission is really to figure out what shapes their hunting skills.
Yeah, and for this, we're looking at a really foundational piece of research. It's a paper from 1980 by Stark-Adamick, and Livingston, published in Behavioral and Neurobiology. It might sound old, but trust me, the experiments they did were pretty wild, and the conclusions still super relevant for understanding cats today.
Think of this as your shortcut to understanding why your cat does what it does when it gets that hunting look in its eye. I think you'll probably walk away with some surprising facts, maybe even see your own little hunter a bit differently. It should be, well, pretty illuminating and hopefully fun, too.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's unpack this then. So they basically set up a kind of cat school to figure out what makes a feline predator tick. What was the big question they were trying to answer here? And how did they even set up these experiments?
Yeah, cat school is a good way to think about it. Their main goal was to tease apart, the influence of early life experiences versus just innate biology. How much of a cat's adult hunting ability is just wired in from birth, and how much is learned in those crucial first few months.
Okay, got it.
So they took 26 kittens, males and females, and raised them from birth up to 4 months old in 5 really different conditions. Each one was designed to mimic a different kind of early learning environment a kitten might encounter.
26 kittens. Wow, that must have been chaotic. So 5 different conditions, like different classrooms?
Exactly. Very controlled setups. Condition 1 had kittens observing an adult cat, an aggressive one attacking rats. And interestingly, they had used the father cat.
The father? Why?
Well, get this. They apparently screened 82 mother cats and couldn't find any that were consistently aggressive towards rats. So dad stepped in as the hunting tutor.
The dad cat as the role model. That's unexpected. Okay, what were the other conditions?
Well, next they looked at competition. Does having litter mates around, competing for the prey, make a difference?
Sibling rivalry.
Sort of, yeah.
Yeah.
Then, a really key one, hunger combined with exposure to killed prey.
Okay, so tapping into those basic drives. Hunger plus the reward, basically.
Though the reward was already dispatched, let's say. Then another group got early exposure to live rats and mice. See how they react from the get-go.
Right.
And finally, a control group. Just raised normally with mom and litter mates, no specific extra experiences.
Yeah.
They were the baseline.
Wow. Okay, they really tried to cover the bases. When the kittens were observing the dad cat, how did that work? Were they watching from afar?
Yeah, pretty much. They were in separate little viewing areas with plexiglass fronts.
Yeah.
They could see the dad cat go after a rat. These were hooded rats, about 140 grams, but they couldn't interact with him or each other during that specific observation time.
So just watching, no hands-on, or paws-on, I guess. How did they actually measure if any of this schooling worked? Did they give them tests?
They absolutely did. After the adult cat made a kill and was removed, the kittens would get 5 minutes with a rat and also with a smaller albino mouse, about 30 grams. And to really amp up the motivation, they even had periods of food deprivation from 6 months up to a year, testing them when they were hungry.
Makes sense.
And the level of detail here is amazing. Every single behavior, a tail twitch, a hesitation, the pounce itself was videotaped and then analyzed in slow motion.
Yeah.
By 3 different observers.
3 observers in slow motion. That is incredibly thorough.
Right. Talk about dedication. It let them track really subtle things like how long it took a cat to attack, exactly where they targeted the prey. Tiny details that tell you a lot about what's going on in their head.
Okay, so after all this meticulous setup, the cat school experiment, what was the biggest surprise? What turned out to be the magic recipe for making a kitten into a good rat hunter? Was it watching dad?
Okay, get ready for this, because it really does flip common assumptions. The single most effective early experience wasn't watching the expert hunter. It was simply hunger combined with exposure to killed prey.
Wait, really?
Yep. 5 out of the 6 kittens in that specific group that was the only special experience they had became aggressive rat attackers as adults.
Just being hungry and seeing dead rats, not watching the technique, not competing, just that.
Oh, wow.
How did that compare to the other groups?
It's a really stark contrast. The group that did observe the father cat plus had hunger and killed prey exposure. Only 2 out of 3 became aggressive.
Huh. Still pretty high, but lower.
Lower, yeah. And the group that had what you might think is the most natural mix observation, competition with siblings, hunger, and killed prey. Only 3 out of 8 became aggressive rat attackers.
Only 3 out of 8.
Right. And maybe even more telling. The groups that had basically no specific prey experiences, or the one that had competition and hunger but didn't see the adult model hunt, 0. None of those cats became aggressive rat hunters.
So that whole idea of learning by watching mom, at least for becoming a serious rat hunter, it seems like basic hunger and just encountering the evidence of a successful hunt was way more powerful. It really suggests something fundamental about those drives.
It really does. And what's also fascinating is how some of the things we assume are vital, like watching an expert or competing, played these much more complicated roles.
Right, like the observation piece. You'd think watching a pro would be lesson 1, but you're saying it wasn't the key thing.
Not for developing the basic aggression towards rats, no. It was surprising. The kittens who observed spent just as much time watching the dad cat, whether they ended up being aggressive later or not.
So watching didn't make them more likely to attack rats.
It seems observation mainly helped them become effective with a wider range of prey, particularly larger prey. But it didn't seem to be required to learn the basic kill itself. I mean, think about this. Half the kittens raised in social isolation still attacked mice perfectly well.
Wow.
And they even saw a mouse killing in kittens as young as 4 weeks old with absolutely no prior experience with prey.
Okay, so the core skill might be more innate than we think. What about the competition part? Did wrestling with siblings for the prize make them tougher hunters?
Well, this is where it gets really interesting because competition seemed to cut both ways. It had this dual effect.
How so?
For some cats, yes, it seemed to help, to facilitate. Remember that normal group with observation, competition, hunger, and killed prey? 3 of those 8 cats initially only killed rats when their litter mates were present.
Ah, okay, like they needed the group dynamic.
Exactly. They kind of got going with the group and only later started killing on their own. And those cats also started killing rats earlier than cats without that group competition.
So a bit like peer pressure could kickstart things for certain individuals. Hey, Fluffy's doing it, maybe I should too.
Kind of like that, yeah.
Yeah.
But then, for other cats, competition seemed to do the opposite. It actually seemed to slow down or prevent attack development. Most of the non-aggressive cats, when gested in groups, seemed really inhibited by having their peers around.
Inhibit?
Yeah, like they held back. And the study noted that no early experience seemed quite as bad for developing rat attacking skills as being in that competitive group setting without having watched the adult model.
Huh.
It really highlights that the social situation matters immensely. It's not just what they experience, but who they're with, and maybe how confident or cautious that makes them feel, you know?
That makes a lot of sense. Different personalities reacting differently. So, okay, they figured out a lot about how cats develop aggression. Did they see differences in how cats approach different kinds of prey? Like, is a mouse just practice for a rat, or are they treated differently?
Oh, a huge difference. And it makes sense, right? Mice are small, quick, less dangerous. Rats are bigger, can fight back.
Totally.
So with mice, the cats were generally much less cautious. They attacked mice more often. Even the cats that were generally aggressive didn't show a specific target preference for mice. They just went for it.
So less thinking, more pouncing. What did that look like specifically?
They saw a lot more double paw grasping with mice. Imagine that super fast move where they scoop up something small with both front paws together.
Yeah, like catching a fumbled ball.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And also more hard or gentle paw striking those quick little jabs or bats. It really looked like confident engagement with something they didn't perceive as much of a threat.
Okay, but rats. Different ballgame.
Completely. Rats were clearly seen as more formidable. The non-aggressive cats were much more hesitant with rats. They withdrew more often compared to how they treated mice.
And how they attacked was different too.
Definitely. The aggressive cats tended to target the front or middle of the rat.
Which is where the killing bite would be most effective, right? Neck or spine.
Precisely. Going for efficiency.
Yeah.
But the non-aggressive cats, they were much more cautious. They usually attacked the rear end of the rat.
Ah, staying away from the teeth and claws. Makes sense. Self-preservation first.
Exactly. It's like a clear risk assessment playing out. They also saw differences in how they attacked. Aggressive cats used single paw pinning, much more often with rats.
Single paw pinning?
Yeah, where they use one paw to hold the rat down, like pinning its shoulders to stabilize it for a bite.
Like a wrestling move.
Sort of. And those aggressive cats also had significantly longer bite durations, especially on those front-middle targets for both rats and mice. It suggests a more committed, sustained attack compared to the more hesitant approach of the cautious cats. The cat's perception of threat really dictated the whole strategy.
So if we try to tie all this together, it sounds like it's not just about whether a cat can hunt physically. It's more about whether it overcomes its inhibition, its caution.
That's exactly the core idea the researchers landed on. The biggest difference between the aggressive and non-aggressive cats wasn't necessarily raw skill, but the level of caution and defensiveness they showed, especially towards the rats.
Right.
The aggressive cats just withdrew less. Their readiness to attack, like how quickly they started and the intensity, the pinning, the longer bites, it all correlated negatively with how much they withdrew. Basically, the more cautious or defensive they were, the less likely they were to launch a full, effective attack.
So the non-aggressive cats could potentially hunt well, like they showed with the mice.
Exactly. They weren't lacking the basic motor patterns.
But their attacks on the more dangerous prey, the rats, were, as the paper put it, altered by an overriding caution.
Precisely. So the key takeaway is that those early experiences like hunger with killed prey don't necessarily teach the cat how to bite or pounce. That seems more innate. What they do is modulate the defensiveness. They tip the internal balance away from caution and towards attack.
They lower the fear barrier, essentially.
That's a great way to put it. It's less about installing the attack software and more about adjusting the fear thermostat so the attack program can run effectively, especially when the stakes feel higher.
Wow. That gives such a richer picture than just instinct versus learned. It's this constant interplay, this balance. So next time you see your cat batting at a dust bunny like it's a fearsome beast, or maybe cautiously eyeing a big beetle, you can picture that internal dance happening, that push and pull between aggression and defense.
Absolutely. It's a complex calculation happening in that little feline brain.
Okay, so let's quickly recap this deep dive. The big surprise was that hunger plus exposure to killed prey seemed to be the most potent early experience for making a rat hunter, not necessarily watching mom or dad.
Right, and observation and competition had these really complex, sometimes contradictory roles, helping some, hindering others, but not teaching the basic skill.
And maybe the most crucial insight is that a cat's level of caution, its inherent defensiveness, is really what defines its predatory style, particularly when facing something potentially dangerous like a rat. It's all about that balance.
Exactly. The basic attack patterns seem to be there, but whether they get fully expressed against tough prey depends heavily on overcoming that caution, which early experiences can influence.
Which leaves us with a final thought to chew on. We focused on what makes a cat an effective predator, but maybe there's an evolutionary advantage to not always being the most aggressive killer on the block. What's the upside for the species of having this built-in cautiousness, especially towards bigger prey? How does that balance serve cats in the wild?
That's a great question. It's that fundamental trade-off, isn't it? Risk versus reward. Ensure you get the meal, but also ensuring you survive the encounter to hunt again tomorrow. That caution is probably just as important for survival as the aggression itself.
Definitely something to think about. So we encourage you, watch your own cat. See if you can spot that caution, that assessment, alongside the pounce. It might just give you a whole new appreciation for the sophisticated little predator sharing your couch.